I don't know if you guys know this, but apparently if you want to get a boyfriend, you have to stop being mean to men. And like, I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of commitment.
Being nice to our man literally gets us nowhere, which is why men will always choose the women that challenges them, makes them better, and might not be nice to them, but definitely spoil them.
I had someone recently tell me that I shouldn't say I hate men because it would make me less desirable to them for them to want to date me. And then they proceeded to say, well, how would you like it if men went around saying, well, I hate women? As if they already fucking don't.
Have you noticed there are women who treat their own boyfriends worse than they'd treat an enemy? And the scary part is, many of them do it laughing, thinking it's funny, believing he'll never leave today. I'm going to show you what happens when cruelty becomes a habit, when ego replaces respect, and when some women confuse being strong with being toxic. Because the truth is simple, a lot of women are losing good men and don't even realize the problem is staring back at them in the mirror.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but stop being mean to that man before it's too late. I don't know what this is psychologically, where like you'll be with someone that you secretly have resentment toward. If you don't truly feel strongly about that person, you don't belong in a relationship with them, and treating somebody like your rag doll is just such an awful thing to do to anybody, especially in a romantic relationship. I see so many people mistreating their partners just because they feel like they can, or they know that the other person cares about them so much that they can get away with doing that. And if you feel like that's you and you're catching yourself doing that or taking advantage of how nice your partner is to you, or purposely being rude because you think it's funny, stop, because it's so mean. And if you feel like you have to do that to get attention from your partner, or you feel like it's your way of taking out your resentment against them, you're with the wrong person. You guys both deserve to find better people. So all I'm gonna say is stop being mean to that man, however that can apply to your life, because he's gonna put up with it for a while until he gets to a point where he breaks and he can't stand you, and then it's too late.
This woman says something many men are afraid to admit out loud. Some women treat well only the men they're afraid to lose, and treat badly the men they know will stay. As a man with traditional values, this behavior is unacceptable. A relationship is not a resentment lab where a woman uses a man as an emotional punching bag. If she feels contempt for him, she should end things, not destroy him slowly. This is emotional abuse, and men break too. Men get tired, men walk away, and she's right. A man puts up with it until the day he doesn't anymore. A traditional man stays quiet for a long time, but silence doesn't last forever. The woman who plays cruel because he loves me too much to leave is digging her own loneliness. Respect is basic, and once it's gone, the relationship is already dead.
Ladies, we need to stop hating on men. And when I say we, I mean y'all. I see so many conversations about men getting hated on by women all the time, and it needs to stop. Like, if we really want to come together as, a society, this has to stop, because there are good men out there. And if you don't think there are good men out there, I think that says more about who you are and the men that you are attracting. So it's actually time to look within if you don't feel like you're attracting good men.
Here we see something rare: female accountability. She understands that hating men has become a trend, and that this attitude only pushes away the very good men many women claim to want. As a traditional man, her perspective shows maturity. If you only attract bad men, it's usually because of bad standards, bad choices, and bad behavior. It's not bad luck, it's consequence. When a woman says there are no good men, she's revealing more about herself than about men. This woman, on the other hand, understands that relationships require mutual respect, and that generalizing destroys connection. That's the bare minimum for anything healthy.
I had someone recently tell me that I shouldn't say I hate men because it would make me less desirable to them for them to want to date me. And then they proceeded to say, well, how would you like it if men went around saying, well, I hate women? As if they already fucking don't, or even treat women or harm women. And then the point was brought up, well, what if they said I hate black people or gay people? And then to that, I was like, well, that would just mean that humanity would be equal then, if we're trying to prove the same point. Because the difference in me saying I hate men versus for saying I hate gay people, I hate black people, whatever, that one is a racist and homophobic comment, versus saying something that's against a system and the way it's designed to cater to men, to cater to their entitlement, and to cater to their arrogance ultimately. It is not that men as a whole, but it is that how men are taught, how they are raised, and how they are executing their behaviors. That is what I have a fucking problem with. Because innately, men are raised to be egotistical, to realize that the world is catered to them and that everything will be of service to them. And that way they are able to objectify other people, view other people who are less than them as objects, like women and people that are of service to them. It is the way we teach men to not treat other human beings as human beings. We teach them that they are pawns, that they are for their service. And that is not what humanity is about. That is not what equality is about. And so, yeah, when I say I hate men, I hate the behaviors that they show because they feel entitled to behave that way. As women, we are the born caretaker role. We have to be the more responsible ones, the more calm ones even though the stereotype says that women are so erratic. Like, no, bitch, it's the other way around if you actually fucking think about it. Because women actually have to be the one that are collective and attentive to make sure that men don't fucking murder us. Men have so much of the mindset like a child, where if they don't get their way, they pout and they act out, which often leads to violence. And that is what women and so many other people outside of that category fear. It is the fear of what men are capable of. If you ask a man what his biggest fear is with women, it is that they will laugh at him. If you ask a woman what her biggest fear is with a man, it is that he will kill her. Do you see the difference in the scale on why this is so fucked up? Because misogyny excuses this behavior. When we dismiss cases of domestic violence, we dismiss these cases where men outwardly harm women, we are keeping that in silence, and that is still a form of compliance, because you are not directly saying what this misogyny is doing, how this entitlement is being translated into abuse, and how men are still victimizing themselves to make it less impactful. Especially how we see instances in rape cases, how quickly people are willing to run to the defense of a man versus actually believing the words of a woman. And it breaks my heart because how many other cases went unnoticed? How many women have committed suicide? How many people have unalived themselves because they felt that their truth didn't matter because it was overshadowed or overlooked by a man? As a woman that's been through domestic violence, sexual assault, like, my story hasn't been shared to many people because of the fear it brought me and who would actually believe me. I don't even tell my own mom these things because she is the number one person I would not trust if anything like this ever happened to me again. And with people as a whole and minorities and the way that we are abused, mistreated, just by men overall and how they feel like that they can because they're entitled to be this way, staying silent is the compliance that they want you to fall into. That's why I think it's so important to use the power of social media, share your voice, share your stories, and ultimately speak out against the men. Because when you see something's wrong, when you see them acting a certain way, fucking speak up, especially when it's on a platform like this where it is kind of like you can be protected behind a screen, but so can they. And they're not so fucking tough. Most of them have the same fucking things to say. It's not that clever. It's not that intelligent. And it's just another reason where they feel like they can just speak it because they can. So let's start talking back and tell them to shut the fuck up. Thank you.
This woman is clearly hurt, but instead of healing, she turned her pain into ideology. As a man with traditional values, the problem isn't that she suffered. It's that she now uses her suffering as justification to hate half of humanity. She talks about male behavior as if it were a fixed genetic curse, when the truth is that individuals must be judged individually. Her speech exaggerates, generalizes, and turns men into natural enemies. That pushes people apart. It doesn't bring them together. She mixes real experiences, on pain, trauma, abuse, with extreme conclusions that do not reflect reality for all men. Pain, when untreated, turns into anger, and anger, when fed, becomes a narrative. What this woman needs is support and therapy, not applause. Her message doesn't solve anything. It only multiplies fear, hostility, and division between men and women.
A lot of y'all women are losing the plot, and I'm about to give you the secret. So stay tuned, listen up, take notes, okay? So in my family, the women in my family would break up with men and they would still be around the family. You know what I mean? I had 30 uncles. It wasn't until I became an adult that I realized we weren't even related at all. Those was just my auntie's old boyfriends from 2 boyfriends ago that would still come around the family just hoping and begging that she would take them back eventually. And do you want to know why? It's because I come from a long line of mean women. Y'all are being too nice to men. Okay? You need to turn up the meanness that you have in your body. And I'm not saying to the right man, you know, the man that does the things for you, but you just have to be strict. run a strict ship. You know what I mean? You can't let them get away with anything. You have to be a little bit mean to them. They eat it up. They eat it up. I don't know what it is. You think that you're going to buy him the world, he's going to love you. That's never going to happen. He's going to run into a girl that says, I hate your outfit. And he's going to love it. He's going to eat it up. Stop being nice to men. Stop being nice to men. Love you. Or do I?
Here we see a completely distorted view of relationships. For her, being mean is a strategy, not respect, not partnership, not love. This reveals insecurity. She believes she must control a man to avoid being abandoned. As a traditional man, this type of woman doesn't build a family. She builds chaos. A man doesn't want to be ruled through fear, insults, or attitude. That only attracts weak, insecure, or emotionally damaged men. The idea that men love mean women is a modern myth. High-value men run from women like this. What she calls being strict is not a standard. It's toxicity. And ironically, women like her always end up with the exact type of men they claim to despise. Men with no backbone or self-respect. In the end, everyone loses.
Being nice to our man literally gets us nowhere, which is why men will always choose the women that challenges them, makes them better, and might not be nice to them, but definitely spoil them. And I'll give you a personal example. I don't tell my husband what he wants to hear. I tell my husband what he needs to hear. Because if not me, then who? Just how he's my number one supporter, I'm also his number one supporter. Which means if he's being disrespectful, if he's lacking, he's not being accountable, if he's not giving me his 110%, I'm not going to be the type of woman to be like, oh baby, it's okay. Huh? No! Men only grow through stress. Men only grow under pressure. And that's why the good girls, the nice girls always play last. And the women who know what they want, who ask for more, who don't settle, end up getting the most loyal men, the most hardworking men. I would be doing my husband such a disservice if I was always nice, or if I was only nice. Mind you, nice and kind are two separate things. Because again, even though I'm not nice to my husband, I am kind. I spoil the man. So take this as your reminder to keep standing on boundaries, keep asking for more, within his means, stop accepting excuses. As always, ladies, be wise.
This woman tries to sound wise, but falls into a classic mistake, confusing firmness with aggression. She says, men only grow through stress, but a traditional man grows through purpose, not pressure. What she describes as pressure that makes a man evolve is often just a lack of affection, lack of understanding, and too much criticism. A relationship where a man is constantly tested turns into a military camp, not a home. She's right about one thing. Love isn't permissiveness, but balance is essential. A man who is always being pushed, judged, and challenged loses his peace. And without peace, there is no healthy masculinity. A woman who thinks being difficult is a virtue eventually becomes exhausting. Over time, a man stops trying, stops talking, and emotionally checks out love requires respect. And respect doesn't come from toxic pressure, but from admiration.